The earth beneath my claws trembles with the heartbeat of the pack. If primal shifter romance is your thing, hit subscribe. Back to the story. I crouch low in the ferns, ribs showing through fur the color of old ash. Tonight the moon drags silver across the clearing like a blade. I taste iron on the wind, and every muscle in my thin frame locks. Across the circle the blind pup whimpers, his eyes milked over since birth. The alpha's growl rolls out, a drum that orders death without trial. Two warriors seize the pup by the loose skin of his neck. They drag him toward the fresh ditch that smells of upturned loam. My own hunger gnaws so deep I can count every heartbeat in my ears. Still I lunge from the shadows, teeth bared though I have no strength to win. A single thought hammers through the fever in my skull, not him. The pack buried the blind pup alive, the Omega dug him out. A heavy paw slams my spine and drives me face first into the dirt. Claws rake my flanks and the taste of my own blood floods my mouth. They shove me into the pit beside the pup, our bodies tangled in panic. Loam rains down, each thud sealing us away from moonlight and hope. I twist my muzzle until I find the pup's throat pulse against my tongue. He is still breathing, so I begin to dig with paws that already bleed. Earth packs beneath my claws, but I tunnel upward toward the thinnest scent of air. When we break the surface, the clearing stands empty beneath a hard white moon. The pup limps away into the deeper forest, and no one ever marks his trail. I collapse at the base of a cedar, chest heaving, ribs sharper than before. For 3 nights I starve in his place, too weak even to howl. On the 4th dusk the pack returns, drunk on the hunt, and finds me half dead. No one speaks of the blind pup again, as if the earth swallowed memory too. I am shoved back to the edge of the circle, where Omegas belong. My fur clings to bone, but my eyes burn brighter than the stars overhead. Tonight the full moon rises again, and the wind carries the scent of change. The pack shifts in a single rolling wave of cracking joints and tearing sinew. I drop to all fours last, my shift slow, painful, starved yet defiant. Across the clearing, a new alpha stands where the old blood once ruled. His coat is black as wet stone, and his ears hold no sound at all. Asher, they call him, the deaf prince returned from exile with scars for crowns. Power ripples off his skin like heat above summer roads. Our eyes lock, and something ancient snaps tight between our chests. The world narrows to the drum of twin hearts neither of us can control. His paws move before his mind can argue, carrying him straight toward me. I brace for impact, certain he will tear the last shred of life from my body. Instead, his muzzle brushes mine, a spark jumping wire to wire in the dark. The bond roars through my veins, and every wound on my skin seals shut. Around us the pack freezes, hackles lifted at the wrongness of what they see. An alpha does not bow to an omega, does not crave the lowest flesh. Asher jerks backward as if burned, lips peeling in silent denial. He spins away, tail lashing, and the link between us snaps like a bone. Pain floods the hollow space where his touch had just bloomed. I stand alone in the center of the circle, fur damp with moonlight and shame. Whispers rise, cruel laughter carried on the backs of nightingales. The Omega dared to reach above her station, and the Alpha flung her back. My chest caves inward, yet I lift my chin, refusing to crumple before them. If they want me groveling, they will wait until the stars burn cold. Asher paces the ridge, head shaking again and again, denying what his blood knows. I turn and walk into the forest, hunger returning sharper than any claw. Behind me, his howl splits the sky, a soundless vibration that rattles my teeth. The bond tugs me like a leash, but I clench my muscles and keep moving. Let the deaf Alpha silence the truth. I will survive without his name. Branches scrape my sides, and the night drinks the taste of my rejection. The earth beneath my claws trembles with the heartbeat of the pack. I crouch low in the ferns, ribs showing through fur the color of old ash. Tonight the moon drags silver across the clearing like a blade. I taste iron on the wind, and every muscle in my thin frame locks. Across the circle the blind pup whimpers, his eyes milked over since birth. The Alpha's growl rolls out, a drum that orders death without trial. Two warriors seize the pup by the loose skin of his neck. They drag him toward the fresh ditch that smells of upturned loam. My own hunger gnaws so deep I can count every heartbeat in my ears. Still I lunge from the shadows, teeth bared though I have no strength to win. They will wait until the stars burn cold. Asher paces the ridge, head shaking again and again, denying what his blood knows. I turn and walk into the forest, hunger returning sharper than any claw. Behind me his howl splits the sky, a soundless vibration that rattles my teeth. The bond tugs me like a leash, but I clench my muscles and keep moving. Let the deaf Alpha silence the truth. I will survive without his name. Branches scrape my sides, and the night drinks the taste of my rejection. The trail drops steep toward the creek, and my paws slip on slick stone. I crash shoulder first into the water, and the cold knocks breath from my lungs. Moonlight scatters across the surface, and I see my reflection, wolf thin, eyes too wide. I snap at the image because it looks like weakness, and weakness gets an omega killed. Upstream, a salmon leaps, and the splash echoes like a slap. My stomach answers with a growl louder than any alpha command. I wade deeper until the current tugs my legs, and I think about letting it take me. Then the wind shifts, and Asher scent floods my nose, pine, storm, and something electric. I spin, water flying, but the bank is empty except for shadows. The bond pulses again, and I realize he is moving parallel, tracking without sound. I force myself onto the opposite bank, shaking spray from my coat. Every step away feels like tearing stitched skin, but I keep walking. The forest here is older, trees so tall their tops vanish into black. I find a hollow log and crawl inside, pressing my spine to rotting wood. My ears twitch at every crackle, but no paws follow. I tell myself I am glad, but my chest feels hollow as a dried gourd. Sleep creeps in ragged pieces, and I dream of warm hands on bare skin. When I wake, dew clings to my fur, and the moon has traveled west. I step into the clearing, and the shift takes me sudden as a snapped twig. Bones slide, muscles knot, and I stand naked under the stars, arms trembling. I sniff the air for danger, but only night creatures stir. My clothes lie shredded back at the kill site, so I start walking toward the ridge. The path is steep, and loose shale cuts my soles. Halfway up I smell smoke, and I drop low behind a boulder. A small fire burns in a stone ring, and beside it sits Asher in human form. His back is to me, shoulders broad, hair hanging damp to his waist. He wears nothing but moonlight, and scars map his skin like silver rivers. I mean to leave, but my foot dislodges a pebble that clatters downhill. He turns, and our eyes lock across the distance, and the world tilts. His lips part, and though he cannot hear, my name shapes between them, Kairos. I want to run, but my legs refuse the command. He stands slowly, firelight painting gold across the ridges of his stomach. His right hand lifts, palm open, a question without sound. I step into the light, and the heat of the flames kisses my chilled skin. We stand like that, two animals testing the air between predators. Then he moves, closing the space in 3 slow strides. His hand cups my jaw, thumb brushing the corner of my mouth. I feel the tremor in his wrist, and I realize he is holding back a storm. My heartbeat slams against my ribs, and I taste iron again, but now it is desire. He lowers his forehead to mine, and our breaths mingle, steam in the cold night. The bond roars awake, and I feel his pulse like a second heart in my throat. His other arm circles my waist, pulling me flush to him, skin to skin. I lift my hands, fingers sliding over the raised map of scars, reading his battles. When I touch the jagged line across his collarbone, he shudders, and the fire answers with sparks. I rise on my toes, and my lips brush the corner of his, testing. He growls, low and human, and the sound vibrates through my chest. His grip tightens, and suddenly I am lifted, legs wrapping his hips. The world spins, and my back meets soft earth a safe distance from the flames. He braces above me, eyes glowing wolf gold, asking permission without words. I answer by arching against him, and the last space between us disappears. His mouth finds mine, and the kiss is hunger sharpened by years of denial. Teeth nip, tongues clash, and we taste each other's storms. I feel his need pressing against my thigh, thick and insistent. My hands rake down his back, and he answers with a thrust that draws a ragged gasp. Pleasure coils hot and fast, and I realize I am already wet-ready. He rears back enough to search my face, and I see fear flicker behind the gold. I lift my hips, guiding him, and we both groan as he slides partway inside. The bond sings, binding skin, soul, and the night holds its breath. He sinks deeper, stretching, filling the ache I carried since childhood. When he starts to move, the forest fades until only rhythm and heat remain. Each stroke stokes the fire higher, and I cling to his shoulders, nails, crescents, and muscle. His breath huffs against my neck, and I feel the prick of fangs threatening descent. I tilt my throat, offering, and he snarls, pace quickening. The cliff approaches fast, and I bite his lip, tasting copper. He drives deep once more, and the world shatters into white, moonlight behind my eyes. I pulse around him, and he follows with a silent roar, spilling heat into me. We stay locked, trembling, while the fire settles into embers. When he finally lowers his head to my shoulder, I feel wetness that is not sweat. I stroke his hair, and the bond hums, sated but alert. Above us the moon begins to sink, and dawn threatens to steal the magic. He rolls to the side, tucking me against him so my spine fits his chest. His arm bands across my ribs, palm over my heart, claiming and protecting. I listen to his breathing slow, and for the first time the night feels kind. Yet in the distance, a wolf howls and the pack will soon come searching. I think of the blind pup of the ditch of the alpha's drum. Asher's fingers tighten as if he hears my thoughts through the bond. I twist to face him and his eyes say what his voice cannot stay. I press my lips to his scar, tasting salt and smoke and promise. We dress in silence, sharing his spare shirt, sleeves rolled many times. Hand in hand we walk toward the ridge trail, ready to meet whatever follows. The ridge trail climbs steep beneath our bare feet, and the gravel bites soft skin. I feel every stone, every shift of balance because the bond hums like a second heart. Asher walks ahead, his shoulders blocking moonlight and his spine stays coiled for battle. We say nothing, yet the air between us crackles with questions neither can voice. I taste his worry, metallic and sharp, and I know he tastes mine. Behind us the forest holds its breath, waiting for the pack to pick up our trail. I glance back once, seeing only black trunks and silver mist, but my ears strain for pursuit. My stomach growls, empty and angry because I have not eaten in 2 days. Asher pauses, shrugs off the shared shirt, and tears the hem into strips. He wraps my soles, knotting cloth with quick fingers, then meets my eyes. His silent order is clear. Keep walking, and do not bleed where they can track. I nod, swallowing the ache, and we move again, faster now. The trail narrows, hemlock brushing our arms, and the scent of sap masks our musk. I count his breaths, matching mine to them because the rhythm steadies the wolf inside. Somewhere below, a twig snaps and both of us freeze. Asher lifts his face, nostrils flaring, and I watch the scar pull tight across his cheek. He signs against my palm, quick shapes, 3 wolves, downwind, closing. My pulse spikes, but I force my muscles to stay loose because panic carries scent. He points left, toward a split in the rock, and I follow without hesitation. We slip into the crevice sideways, chest scraping stone, and the world narrows to heartbeat and breath. The first wolf passes, a gray blur, and his paws drum past our hiding spot. I smell fear on him, thick as old blood, and I realize they are running from something too. Asher's hand finds mine in the dark, squeezing once, and the bond floods with grim understanding. The alpha has sent hunters, but the hunters are also prey. We wait until the last pawfall fades, then ease out, stone scraping skin. Above us the moon slides behind a cloud, and darkness feels like mercy. Asher gestures uphill, toward a stand of cedar, and we climb, using roots like rungs. My wrapped feet slip, but his arm circles my waist, lifting me as if I weigh nothing. At the crest we drop behind a fallen log, lungs burning, and scan the valley. Far below, torchlight weaves between trunks, and the pack's howls rise like knives. I count at least 7, maybe more, and their voices carry hunger and rage. Asher's jaw clenches, muscle jumping, and I know he is weighing odds. He taps my sternum, then his own, and the message is simple: together. I want to believe it, but my body remembers every beating, every exile. Still, the bond pulses, warm and stubborn, and I nod. We slide down the far side of the ridge, knees bruising on shale, and the forest opens into a narrow meadow. Dew soaks our legs, and the smell of wild mint rises, sharp enough to mask us. Asher breaks into a lope, low and silent, and I mirror him, arms pumping. We reach a stream, silver under clouded moon, and he kneels, tasting the current. I watch his throat work, and thirst flares so strong my knees nearly buckle. He cups water, offers it to me, and I drink from his hands like a pilgrim. The cold shocks my teeth, but I swallow greedily because tomorrow may not offer mercy. When I lift my face, his eyes hold something softer than urgency, and the bond flares hot. I feel his need, not just for escape, but for affirmation that I am still his. I press my mouth to his, water mixing with the taste of us. His arms band around me, pulling me against his chest, and for a heartbeat the world stops hunting. Then a howl slices the night, closer than before, and we break apart. Asher wipes my chin with his thumb, a rough tenderness, and stands. He points across the water, toward a thicket of thorn and elder, and I follow. We wade, gasping at the chill, and the current tugs at our calves like greedy fingers. On the far bank we shake droplets from skin, and the wind raises goose flesh. I spot a hollow beneath a blown-down spruce, needles thick as bedding, and crawl inside. Asher follows, pulling dead branches to seal the entrance, and darkness swallows us. We lie chest to back, sharing heat, and his heartbeat drums against my spine. Outside, paws splash through the stream, and noses snuffle, searching. I clamp my jaw shut, tasting sap and fear, and force my breathing shallow. A wolf snarls, frustrated, and claws rake the log above our heads. Dust drifts down, but the searcher moves on, called by distant cries. We stay frozen, fused, until the forest quiets and even crickets hesitate. Asher's hand finds my breastbone, fingers spread, and he taps twice. Safe. I exhale, trembling, and roll to face him in the black. His eyes catch stray moonlight, glowing wolf gold, and the sight sends heat pooling low. I touch his scar again, tracing the ridge, and wonder how many battles it took. He catches my wrist, kisses the pulse, then guides my hand lower. I feel him hard against my palm, velvet over steel, and hunger shifts to something deeper. We move slow, because silence is survival, and every breath could betray. I straddle him, knees pressing moss, and sink onto him with aching care. His mouth opens, silent growl, and the bond roars open, flooding me with his senses. I taste pine, blood, desire, and the echo of every loss he carries. We rock, grinding rather than thrusting, because the earth might hear. His thumb finds the place where thigh meets hip, pressing, coaxing, until sparks burst behind my eyes. I bite his shoulder to muffle sound, and he answers with a bruising grip on my waist. Release rolls through us, shared by the bond, and we swallow each other's gasps. After we stay joined, foreheads touching, and the world feels less sharp. I whisper his name, though he cannot hear, and his lips shape mine in return. We separate, cleaning with moss, then curl again, limbs tangled. Sleep tugs, but I fight it because dawn will bring new hunts. Asher traces idle circles on my back, and the rhythm lulls me despite dread. I think of the blind pup, safe for now, and wonder if he dreams. The bond hums, steady as a drum, and I realize I am no longer alone. Outside, clouds drift apart and moonlight spears through cracks, striping his skin. I watch the rise of his chest, counting heartbeats, memorizing this fragile piece. Somewhere a night bird calls lonely, and the sound feels like prophecy. I press closer, soaking his warmth, because tomorrow we run again. The earth beneath my claws trembles with the heartbeat of the pack. I crouch low in the ferns, ribs showing through fur the color of old ash. Tonight the moon drags silver across the clearing like a blade. I taste iron on the wind, and every muscle in my thin frame locks. Across the circle the blind pup whimpers, his eyes milked over since birth. The alpha's growl rolls out, a drum that orders death without trial. Two warriors seize the pup by the loose skin of his neck. They drag him toward the fresh ditch that smells of upturned loam. My own hunger gnaws, so deep I can count every heartbeat in my ears. Still I lunge from the shadows, teeth bared though I have no strength to win. Asher's breath stirs the hairs along my nape, and the memory dissolves. I lie still beneath the moth-eaten blanket, counting the thuds inside my ribs. The blind pup is curled between us, his small ribs fluttering like trapped moths. Asher's arm lies heavy across my waist, but the weight feels borrowed, not given. His pulse thuds against my spine, steady, remote, as though cliffs divide us. I breathe in the iron and pine scent of him, and the bond answers with fire. Fire that he damps down, denying the bright thread that stitches our bones. I feel him fighting the pull, feel the refusal like frost rhyming my veins. The moonlight stripes his skin, painting blue runes across the curve of muscle. I trace them with my eyes, though my fingers stay clenched beneath my chin. Tomorrow he will stand in the clearing and renounce me before the pack. I know this the way I know the taste of my own blood, sharp, inevitable. Yet tonight his heat pools against my back, and I hoard it like prey. The pup whimpers in his sleep, paws twitching after dream rabbits he'll never see. I tuck him closer, shielding the fragile curve where neck meets shoulder. Asher's fingers twitch, and for a heartbeat the bond flares hot enough to brand. Then he clamps it down, jaw tightening until I hear the grind of enamel. I swallow the ache blooming beneath my sternum, refusing to let it flower. I am only a scout, sentreater, shadowrunner, nothing next to an alpha heir. He reminds me with silence, with distance kept though skin touches skin. Outside, wind combs the pines and needles hiss like distant surf. I think of my mother, who died naming me Kairos, little dragon, flame that burns itself. She believed the name would armor me, but names are only wind in hungry mouths. I have survived by making myself small, by swallowing pride until it cuts my throat. Now the bond demands largeness, demands I rise, and I do not know how. Asher shifts, blankets rustling like dry leaves, and his warmth retreats an inch. That inch feels wider than the gorge dividing the territories beyond our dens. I listen to the night insects striking the window, frantic wings against cold glass. They sound like my pulse, reckless, seeking light that will only destroy them. I wonder if the bond is such a light, beautiful, lethal, impossible to ignore. The pup sighs and burrows deeper into the crook of my arm, trusting weight. He smells of milk and pine sap, of the innocence Asher fights to preserve. I promised him safety, though safety is a currency I have never owned. Asher's breathing evens into the rhythm of reluctant sleep, but I remain awake. I catalog every point where his skin meets mine, memorizing the map of denial. When dawn bleeds through the cracked pane, these points will cool, will vanish. He will stand, cloak himself in authority, and I will become a footnote again. The thought should steady me, return me to the anonymity I once cherished. Instead, it tastes like rust in my mouth, like the tang of a trap already sprung. I am caught, and every heartbeat tightens the wire around my ribs. A wolf howls far off, a long note quivering with loneliness or warning. The call tugs the bond like a string wrapped around my heart, and I shiver. Asher mutters something raw, arm tightening though he still sleeps. His voice is rough, unguarded, and the sound slides heat between my bones. I imagine speaking my fears aloud, imagine how the syllables would taste. I am not enough, I would say, and the bond would answer with thunder. But thunder belongs to storms, not to frightened girls hiding in borrowed blankets. So I hold my tongue, tasting copper where worry has bitten the edges. The night stretches, elastic, cruel, refusing to hasten toward the reckoning. I listen to the pup suck in air, to Asher's steady exhale, to my own trembling. Eventually exhaustion drags me under, and the world tilts into restless gray. I dream of running, paws slamming against earth that crumbles into nothing. Behind me the pack sings my failure, voices rising like a wall of teeth. Ahead, Asher stands in human form, arms crossed, eyes colder than river stone. I reach for him, but the bond flares white-hot and flings me backward. I fall, and the gorge opens, black, bottomless, echoing with the pup's cries. I wake gasping, slick with sweat, the blanket twisted around my legs like vines. Dawn has not yet arrived, but the darkness feels thinner, expectant. Asher's side of the bed is empty, sheet cool beneath my searching palm. Panic spikes, sharp as thorns, until I hear the quiet shuffle near the door. He stands at the window, back to me, shoulders rigid beneath moonlight. The blind pup is tucked against his chest, held secure by arms that will not yield. Asher's voice comes low, rough, as though dragged across gravel. I will take him to the healer at first light, and then I will speak. He does not say the words to me, but to the night beyond the cracked pane. Still the bond vibrates, humming like a plucked wire between his ribs and mine. I sit up, drawing knees to chest, trying to make my body disappear. He continues, softer, "You should not have run for him, Kairos. You risk too much." The name lands like a stone between us, heavy, undeniable. I answer with silence because apologies taste like ash on my tongue. He turns, and moonlight carves the lines of strain around his mouth. The pup whimpers, sensing tension, tiny claws pricking Asher's forearm. Asher soothes him with a rumble that vibrates through the floorboards to my bones. I feel the echo in my chest, feel the bond answer with helpless, hungry warmth. Yet his eyes remain shuttered, obsidian chips reflecting nothing of the fire inside. "You are not strong enough to challenge them," he says, voice flat with certainty. The words strike like a slap, and I flinch though I try to hide the motion. He sees anyway, jaw tightening until the muscle leaps beneath the skin. I want to argue, to claim courage, but my body betrays me with trembling. I am still the half-starved wolf who could not win against stronger teeth. He looks away first, gaze sliding to the window where stars fade into bruised sky. "I will fix this," he mutters, more to himself than to me, promise or curse. I swallow the retort that burns the back of my throat, scorching like acid. Fixing, to him, means severing the bond, means pushing me back into shadows. I should welcome the distance, should thank him for restoring the order I knew. Instead, I feel the bond coil tighter, a living thing fighting for light. He steps toward the door, pausing with his hand on the splintered frame. For a heartbeat, I think he will speak again, will offer some crumb of hope. But he only exhales, long and slow, then slips into the corridor without looking back. The pup's sleepy whimper trails after him, a thin thread tying my heart to both. I sit alone in the cooling room, listening to the pack stir beyond the walls. Soon the clearing will fill with bodies, with judgment, with the Alpha's decree. I will stand at the edge, nameless, while Asher renounces the bond aloud. The thought should steady me, should return my world to familiar, narrow lines. Yet my chest feels cracked open, raw, as though claws have torn ribs apart. I press my palm over the ache, feeling the frantic drum beneath skin and bone. The bond. The bond pulses like a second heartbeat beneath my palm, and I hate it. I hate that it answers to a man who would rather see me caged than cherished. I hate that my body knows his name before my mind can spit it out like poison. Footsteps scrape the corridor outside, heavy boots that stop outside my door. I hold my breath, counting heartbeats until the shadow beneath the gap moves on. Asher's scent lingers though he never enters, cedar and storm wrapped in refusal. My throat burns with words I will not speak, pleas that would only shame us both. Instead I rise, stripping off the torn shirt still crusted with the pup's dried blood. The fabric hits the floor like a verdict I refuse to accept tonight. I dress in the dark, choosing the plainest tunic, the least memorable pants. If I am to be exiled, I will walk out looking like nothing they can brand. The mirror shows me a stranger, cheekbones sharp, eyes ringed with sleepless bruises. I bare my teeth at the reflection, practicing the snarl that must pass for pride. Outside, the first howl lifts, raw and ragged, calling the pack to the circle. My stomach answers with a growl, empty since yesterday's flight through thorns. I ignore it, stepping into the hallway where the air tastes of pine torches and dread. Wolves already crowd the corridor, their shoulders brushing mine in calculated silence. None meet my gaze, but I feel their judgment crawl across my skin like ants. I keep moving, barefoot on cold stone, until the tunnel opens onto moonlight. The clearing spreads before me, a bowl of silver grass ringed by fire. At its center stands the Alpha, his gray mane catching light like frost. Beside him, Asher waits, arms folded, face carved from the same unyielding stone. His eyes find mine across the distance, and the bond jerks tight like a noose. I stagger one step before I lock my knees, refusing to show the pain. Around us the pack settles, bodies forming a living wall that seals every exit. I search for the blind pup, but see only warriors with bared teeth and glowing eyes. The Alpha lifts his hand, and the hush falls so complete I hear my pulse. "Tonight we mend the tear made by mercy," he says, voice rolling like distant thunder. "Tonight we remember that law is sharper than any lone heart." He gestures, and two guards drag forward a hooded figure whose knees scrape the dirt. The hood falls back, revealing the pup, now older in face though still blind. His empty sockets weep blood that looks black beneath the moon's cold wash. My breath catches, and the bond flares, Asher's rage pouring into my veins like acid. I taste his desire to kill, to tear the Alpha apart for this display. I taste also his certainty that such a move would damn us both forever. The Alpha continues. The runt lived once through treachery, he will not live twice. He raises the ceremonial blade, its edge curved like the moon itself. I step forward before I know I intend to move, my voice cracking like a whip. "Take me instead," I hear myself say, the words ripping from my throat. A collective gasp rises from the pack, then settles into a hungry murmur. Asher's head snaps toward me, eyes blazing with feral light he barely contains. The Alpha studies me, curiosity flickering behind the cold mask of authority. "You offer your life for a blind cur who cannot serve the pack." I nod once, refusing to let my voice betray the tremor in my bones. "He is worth more than me," I answer, and I mean it more than air. Asher takes one involuntary step, the bond screaming denial straight into my skull. I feel his wolf batter the inside of his ribs, demanding release, demanding war. I send back every ounce of courage I own, wrapping it around his rage. The Alpha laughs, low and cruel, the sound of glaciers cracking apart. A noble sentiment from a stray who has no place among us. He turns the blade toward me, its tip catching moonfare along its length. "Kneel," he commands, and the word slams into my knees like a hammer. I sink into the grass, feeling dew soak through the cloth, cold against my skin. Behind me the pack begins to chant, a slow drumbeat of names and bloodlines. None of them are mine, they never were and they never will be. Asher's breathing echoes inside my chest, ragged, desperate, on the edge of shifting. I close my eyes, picturing the ridge where I first felt the wind promise freedom. I picture the pup's small hand gripping my fur as we ran from death together. I picture Asher's face in the moment before he turned away, regret carved deep. The Alpha steps closer, blade raised, moonlight sliding down the steel like water. I lift my chin, offering my throat, because pride is all I have left to give. A roar splits the night, raw and animal, tearing the chant apart mid-breath. I open my eyes to see Asher mid-leap, claws bursting from his fingertips like knives. He lands between me and the Alpha, shoulders broadening, fur rippling across skin. His wolf rises, massive and black, eyes burning with the hell he promises. The Alpha snarls, dropping into a crouch, the blade now gleaming between them. "Stand down, whelp," the Alpha spits, but his voice wavers just barely. Asher answers with a growl that vibrates through the ground into my bones. He does not look at me, but the bond sings with possession and defiance. I feel his words before he speaks them, feel them form in my own mouth. Touch her, and I will tear this pack apart stone by stone. The pack erupts, some shifting, some drawing blades, all snarling for dominance. I rise slowly, pressing my palm to Asher's heaving side, feeling lightning beneath fur. His heat pours into me, steadying the tremor that threatens to drop me again. I whisper, "Don't do this for me," though every cell screams for him to fight. He turns his great head, amber eyes meeting mine, and the world narrows to us. "I'm not doing it for you," he says, voice rough around lengthening fangs. "I'm doing it because I'm tired of pretending I don't feel the bond." The admission hits harder than any blade, cracking the last wall around my heart. Tears burn my eyes, but I blink them back, refusing to show weakness here. The alpha lunges, blade arcing toward Asher's exposed neck in a silver blur. Asher moves faster, jaws closing on the alpha's wrist with a sickening crunch. Bone snaps, the blade falls, and chaos explodes across the clearing like wildfire. Wolves collide, fangs flashing, blood spraying across moonlit grass in dark arcs. I drop, scoop the blind pup into my arms, and run for the tree line. Behind me, Asher's roar shakes leaves from branches, promising death to any who follow. I do not look back, though the bond tugs like chains wrapped around my ribs. I run until the sounds of battle fade, until only crickets and my heartbeat remain. In a hollow beneath an ancient oak, I set the pup down, checking his shallow breath. He whispers, "Is the moon still up?" And his voice breaks something inside me. I cradle his head, letting him feel the cool light on his ruined face. "Yes," I tell him, "and it will guide us home when you're strong enough." I do not know where home is anymore, but the word feels like prayer between us. The bond pulses again, distant now, carrying Asher's pain and triumph in equal measure. I close my eyes, resting my forehead against the pup's, breathing with him, surviving. Somewhere behind us, a wolf howls victory, though I cannot tell which side has won. Thunder cracks overhead, and the first fat drops splatter across my cheeks like cold accusations. I clutch the blind pup tighter against my chest, his ribs sharp beneath my palms, and I scramble deeper into the thicket where thorns tear at my hair. The bond flares again, hotter this time, and I know Asher is near enough to scent my fear. Lightning forks, illuminating the ridge in stark white, and I see him, bare-chested, barefoot, his dark hair plastered to his skull by the storm that breaks in earnest around us. He does not speak, but his eyes hold mine across the distance, and the raw authority in them makes my knees buckle. I want to run, but the pup whimpers, and my body refuses to abandon him even though every instinct screams that Asher will punish us both. Rain lashes my skin, turning the earth to slick mud beneath my bare feet, and I brace for the moment when he closes the space between us. Instead, he lifts his face to the sky, letting the water stream over the hard plains of his chest, and I feel the bond answer with a pulse that nearly drops me. My breath comes in ragged gasps, and I realize the storm is inside me as much as around me. I whisper useless comfort to the pup, though my voice cracks, because I need the sound to keep from drowning in Asher's silence. Another howl rises, closer, hungrier, and I know the pack is regrouping, deciding whether loyalty belongs to the alpha who sired the defect or the mate who tried to save it. I back against a boulder, shielding the pup with my body, and I taste iron where I have bitten through my lip. Asher moves at last, crossing the ridge in long strides that eat the distance until he stands an arm's length away, his heat radiating through the downpour. He does not reach for the pup. He reaches for me, fingers closing around my wrist with a grip that is almost gentle. I expect him to jerk me forward, but he simply holds, letting the rain wash the blood from our skin while the bond hums between us like a live wire. My pulse hammers against his thumb, and I feel the exact moment when his own heartbeat aligns, the two rhythms syncing as if the storm itself demands our unity. I try to speak, to beg, to snarl, but words drown beneath the roar of water and instinct. He tugs once, and I follow because the alternative is sliding down the ravine where the dark waits to swallow us whole. He guides me beneath a granite overhang that offers meager shelter, the space so narrow we must press together, chest to chest, the pup trapped between us. Heat rolls off Asher's skin despite the cold, and I shiver, unable to stop the tremor that starts in my bones and spreads outward. He peels the soaked shirt from my shoulders, his knuckles grazing my collarbones, and I hate the way my body leans into the touch. The pup stirs, nosing at my neck, and I feel the frantic flutter of his heart against mine. Asher's hand settles over both of us, palm spanning the space where our heartbeats overlap, and the simple weight of it steadies the pup's breathing. I realize then that Asher is lending him strength through the same bond that chains me, and the knowledge cracks something inside my chest. I want to hate him for the years of hunger, for the condemnation, for the way my body obeys his unspoken commands. But the storm strips away every defense until only raw need remains. His thumb traces the mark on my palm, the one that bloomed when the mating bond snapped shut, and the touch sends fire racing up my arm. I bite back a sound, but he hears it anyway, and his eyes darken with a hunger that has nothing to do with food. Lightning flashes again, revealing the scars that cross his ribs in pale lines, and I understand that he has survived his own executions. I dare to lift my free hand, fingertips ghosting over the ridge of a scar, and his muscles jump beneath my touch. The bond pulses, showing me flashes of pain, of battles fought to keep the pack intact, of choices that cost him pieces of his soul. I see the moment he learned the pup was his, the moment he chose exile for the child rather than death, and the knowledge breaks over me like a second storm. My throat tightens, and I press closer, needing to feel the truth of him against my skin. He lowers his forehead to mine, breath mingling, and for the first time the alpha allows himself to tremble. Outside, thunder rolls like distant artillery, but beneath the overhang the world shrinks to the space where our bodies meet. I shift the pup so his head rests against Asher's shoulder, and the small body relaxes as if recognizing the scent of his sire. Asher's arm circles my waist, pulling me flush against him, and I feel the hard length of his desire pressed to my belly. The knowledge should fright me. Instead, it sends heat pooling low in my stomach, and I rock instinctively against him. His growl vibrates through both of us, warning and invitation, and I answer by dragging my nails lightly down his spine. The storm answers with a gust that drives rain against our legs, but we no longer notice the cold. He noses aside my wet hair, mouth finding the pulse beneath my ear, and I arch into the scrape of his teeth. The bond flares, showing me flashes of what he wants, my back against stone, my legs wrapped around his waist, my voice crying his name into the night. I want it too, with a desperation that terrifies me, but the pup is still between us, a fragile barrier of innocence. Asher senses the moment I hesitate, and he draws back just enough to meet my eyes, the question in them raw and unguarded. I glance at the pup, and understanding passes between us. Whatever we become, we protect him first. He nods once, the movement almost imperceptible, then shifts the child to the crook of his arm without breaking contact with me. The pup curls trustingly against his father's chest, and my heart stutters at the sight of Asher's large hand cradling the small head. I realize the storm has become our ally, hiding our scent, our tracks, our momentary truce from the pack that would tear us apart. Asher settles onto the ledge of rock, back against the granite, and draws me down so I sit between his thighs, my spine to his chest. His thighs bracket me, solid and warm, and I let my head fall back against his shoulder. The rain forms a curtain across the mouth of our shelter, turning the world into shifting silver, and for the first time in days, I feel safe enough to breathe. His hand splays across my stomach, holding me anchored, and I feel the steady rise and fall of his chest sinking with mine. The pup sleeps against his heart, and I feel the moment when Asher's own breathing deepens, the tension leaching from his muscles as exhaustion claims him. I should stay alert, but the rhythm of rain and heartbeat lulls me, and I let my eyes close. In the darkness behind my lids, the bond stretches, weaving threads of trust, of shared survival, of a future I dare not name. I feel his lips brush the top of my head, a benediction and a promise, and I answer by threading our fingers together over the pup's back. The storm will pass, the pack will hunt, but tonight we are a single heartbeat sheltered beneath stone and sky, and I allow myself to believe it might be enough. The storm rages outside our stone shelter, and I feel every drop of rain that slams against the rocks above us. My fingers tighten around Asher's hand as another crack of thunder splits the sky, and the blind pup between us whimpers softly in his sleep. The bond pulses warm between our joined palms, and I hate how natural it feels to have Asher's warmth pressed against my side. His breathing has slowed to match mine, and I know he's awake because his thumb keeps tracing small circles against my skin. The gesture sends sparks up my arm that have nothing to do with the lightning that illuminates our hiding place in brief, violent flashes. "You should sleep," Asher murmurs against my hair, his voice rough with exhaustion and something else I refuse to name. The pup shifts between us, his small body curling closer to the heat we create together. I want to pull away, to put distance between us, But the stone alcove is barely wide enough for 2 adults and a child. Instead, I press closer to Asher's chest, telling myself it's only for warmth. His heartbeat thrums steady beneath my cheek, and I count the rhythm like a prayer. How can I sleep when every wolf in the territory hunts us? I whisper back, though my body betrays me by relaxing further into his embrace. The bond stretches between us like a living thing, and I feel his exhaustion as clearly as my own. His free hand comes up to stroke my hair, the gesture so tender it makes my chest ache with things I cannot afford to feel. We are fugitives together, bound by a mating mark I never asked for and a child that isn't mine. They won't find us tonight, Asher says, and there's such certainty in his voice that I almost believe him. His arm tightens around my shoulders, pulling me closer until there's no space left between us. The pup makes a small sound of contentment, his blind eyes fluttering behind closed lids. I wonder if he dreams of running through forests he'll never see, chasing scents he'll never track. The thought makes my throat tight with a grief that isn't mine to carry. The rain begins to ease, shifting from a violent assault to a steady drumming that lulls my exhausted mind. Asher's scent surrounds me, pine and earth, and something uniquely male that makes my wolf pace restlessly beneath my skin. I should hate him for what he's done, for forcing this bond upon me, but instead I find myself memorizing the way his fingers feel threaded through mine. The stone beneath us is cold and hard, but his body is warm and solid against mine. Tell me about him, I say suddenly, the words escaping before I can stop them. The pup's breathing is soft and even between us, his small chest rising and falling in the rhythm of deep sleep. Asher's hand stills in my hair, and I feel the tension that ripples through his body. For a long moment, only the rain speaks, and I think he won't answer. Then his chest rises on a deep breath, and his voice comes out low and rough with memory. His mother died bringing him into this world, Asher says, each word careful and measured. The pack wanted to end him then, called it mercy because he would never hunt, never fight. His fingers tighten around mine, and I feel the old anger that still burns in him. I claimed him as mine before they could act, swore he would prove his worth. The bitterness in his voice makes me turn my face into his chest, seeking comfort I have no right to offer. You saved him, I whisper against the worn fabric of his shirt, feeling his heartbeat quicken beneath my cheek. The bond flares warm between us, and I taste his grief like copper on my tongue. He saved his son only to have his own pack turn against them both, and now they hunt us through this storm like animals. My free hand moves to rest gently on the pup's back, feeling the steady rhythm of his breathing. I condemned him to a life of running, Asher corrects, his voice breaking slightly on the last word. His arms tighten around us both, creating a fortress of warmth against the cold stone and colder rain. The alpha's word is law, and I defied it for a child who cannot even see the sky. I feel the weight of his responsibility pressing down on him through the bond, the burden of leadership twisted into something cruel and sharp. Then we'll run together, I hear myself say, the words shocking us both into stillness. The bond between us flares bright and hot, and I feel Asher's sharp intake of breath. His hand resumes its gentle stroking of my hair, but now there's something different in his touch, something that makes my skin feel too tight and my heart beat too fast. I have just pledged myself to a life I never wanted, bound myself to a man I barely know. Kairos, he breathes against my temple, and my name has never sounded like that before, like a prayer and a promise and a question all at once. His lips brush against my skin, feather-light and tentative, as if asking permission. The storm outside has quieted to a gentle patter, but inside our shelter, something else entirely begins to build. I turn my face up toward his, and in the darkness, I feel rather than see him lean closer. Our lips meet in the space between heartbeats, soft and careful and nothing like the violent claiming I expected. The bond sings between us, and I taste his relief like honey on my tongue. His kiss is gentle, reverent, as if I am something precious he fears to break. When he pulls back, we're both breathing harder, and I feel the truth of what we've become settled heavy between us. The pup shifts between us, and we break apart like guilty children. Sleep now, Asher murmurs, his voice rough with something that makes my stomach flutter. Tomorrow we'll find somewhere safe, somewhere the pack won't think to look. His hand finds mine again, our fingers intertwining over the pup's small back. I want to ask him where that might be, want to demand answers he cannot give, but exhaustion is pulling me under like a riptide. The last thing I feel before sleep claims me is his lips pressing against my forehead, soft as moonlight. I wake to find dawn painting the stone around us in shades of pearl and rose, the storm gone as if it never was. Asher is already awake, his golden eyes watching me with an intensity that makes my breath catch. The pup between us stirs, his blind eyes opening to stare at nothing with that eerie perception that makes my skin crawl. For a moment, we simply exist in the quiet space between night and day, bound together by choice and circumstance, and something that feels terrifyingly like hope. "We should move," Asher says finally, though he makes no effort to release my hand. The bond between us has settled into something warm and steady, a living thread that connects us heart to heart. Outside our shelter, the world waits with all its dangers and possibilities. I squeeze his fingers once, a silent promise that I will not run from this thing we've become. Whatever waits beyond these stones, we will face it together. The rain eases to a whisper against stone, and I feel Asher's pulse steady beneath my thumb. His warmth seeps through the bond, and I draw it deeper, letting it chase the chill from my bones. We rise together, shoulders brushing, and the blind pup stirs where he curls against my cloak. His ears twitch toward every drip, and I smooth the ragged fur along his spine. Asher lifts him with a gentleness that still surprises me, tucking the small body inside his shirt where heat lingers. We step into the thinning storm, and the forest greets us with the raw scent of broken pine. Moonlight slips between fleeing clouds, painting the ridge in silver scars. My bare feet find the path by memory, and Asher follows, his boots silent on the soaked earth. The bond hums between us, a low note only we can hear, guiding us home. The pack's den lies dark beneath the ridge, but torches gutter at the entrance, telling us the council still waits. Asher's hand finds mine, and we pause at the threshold, breathing the same damp air. Inside, voices rise and fall like wolves circling wounded prey. I taste fear on my tongue, sharp as the iron that haunts these mountains. The pup whimpers again, and I press my palm over Asher's heart to steady us both. We enter, and the firelight carves our shadows across the rough walls. Warriors turn, eyes glowing amber in the half-light, measuring the weight of our joined hands. The alpha female steps forward, her muzzle scarred from battles fought under colder moons. She bares her teeth, but Asher meets her stare without flinching, his claim written in every line of his stance. I feel the pack's hunger beat against my skin, and I shift to shield the pup, refusing to yield. The alpha's growl rolls out, low and deliberate, testing the strength of the bond that binds me to Asher. I answer with a softer sound, letting the vibration travel through my ribs, letting her feel the steadiness of my choice. Around us, claws scrape stone as wolves shift, uncertain whether to follow or challenge. Asher lifts his chin, exposing his throat in a gesture that is both submission and declaration, offering his life if she doubts his right to keep the pup. My breath catches, but I mirror him, baring my own neck, tying my fate to his. The alpha watches, nostrils flaring, tasting the truth of our promise in the air. Silence stretches until the fire crackles louder than our hearts. Then she dips her head, a fraction, enough for the pack to exhale as one. Tension drains, leaving only the scent of wet fur and wary respect. Asher's fingers tighten around mine, and together we retreat to the tunnel that leads to his chamber. Stone gives way to timber as we descend, and the air warms with the memory of old fires. Inside, a single lamp burns, casting gold across furs piled thick against the cold. Asher sets the pup on the softest mound, and the small creature kneads the hide before curling into a trembling ball. I kneel beside him, stroking his flank until his breathing evens. Behind me, Asher removes his soaked shirt, muscles rippling beneath skin marked by claw and fang. I feel his gaze travel the line of my spine, and heat pools low in my belly. The bond pulses, drawing me to my feet, turning me toward him. We meet in the center of the room, no space left for doubt. His hands frame my face, thumbs brushing raindrops from my cheekbones. I rise onto my toes, tasting storm and pine on his breath. When our lips meet, the world narrows to the thunder of twin hearts, and the claim between us burns brighter than any brand. He walks me backward until my knees hit the bed of furs, and we sink together, mouths never parting. His weight settles over me, solid and safe, and I arch into the heat of him. Fingers thread through my damp hair, anchoring me as he deepens the kiss, tasting every secret I have never spoken. I drag my nails down his back, feeling muscle leap beneath skin. The bond sings, weaving us tighter until I cannot tell where my pulse ends and his begins. We undress each other with shaking hands, urgency softened by wonder. Skin meets skin, and I breathe him in, letting his scent brand itself on every hidden place. When he enters me, the bond flares white-hot, and I cry out against his shoulder. He stills, letting me adjust, then moves with slow purpose, drawing pleasure like moonlight across water. We climb together, breaths mingling, until release crashes through us, leaving us trembling and whole. Later, we lie entwined beneath a blanket of wolf pelts, the pup a warm knot at our feet. Asher traces idle circles along my collarbone, and I listen to his heartbeat steady beneath my ear. Outside, the storm has fled, leaving the night sharp with stars. I whisper plans against his skin, ways to coax the pack into accepting the blind pup as one of our own. He answers with murmured agreement, his voice rough with lingering desire. Sleep tugs at my edges, but I fight it, afraid the peace will shatter if I close my eyes. Asher presses a kiss to my temple, promising to keep watch. I believe him, because the bond tells me when he lies, and now it hums only truth. I let my eyes drift shut, safe in the circle of his arms, while moonlight creeps across the floor and holds its breath with us. Dawn wakes us with pale fingers through the doorway, and the pup's cold nose prods my ankle, demanding breakfast. Asher rises first, pulling on worn leather pants, the muscles of his back shifting like water beneath skin. I watch, admiring the way morning light loves the line of him. He tosses me a tunic, and we move in easy silence, gathering dried meat and a bowl of goat milk for the pup. The little one laps eagerly, tail thumping against the stone. I braid my hair while Asher studies the entrance, nostrils flaring. Something in his stance sets my own instincts on edge. I cross to him, resting my palm between his shoulder blades. Through the bond, I feel the vibration of approaching strangers, many heartbeats out of rhythm with the forest. Hunters, he thinks, and the word carries the metallic taste of old blood. My stomach clenches, but I force my breathing calm, knowing panic will only sharpen their advantage. We wake the pup and slip into the back tunnel that leads beyond the den. The pack must be warned, but first we need distance. Cold air bites my lungs as we emerge onto a narrow ledge overlooking the valley. Below, figures in dark cloth move through the trees, spreading out in a net. Rifles glint like cold stars in their hands. Asher's jaw tightens, and he hands me the pup, pressing a quick kiss to my brow. He will draw them away while I reach the alpha. I want to argue, but the bond shows me his certainty, and I swallow my fear. We part without words, his footsteps fading into underbrush. I descend toward the den, heart hammering. Halfway down, a twig snaps ahead and I freeze. A hunter steps into view, crossbow leveled at my chest. His eyes widen as he sees the pup, then narrow with cruel recognition. I clutch the blind baby tight, feeling the bond stretch thin as it searches for Asher, praying he feels my danger and stays away. The hunter's finger whitens on the trigger, and the string sings before I can breathe. I twist hard, shielding the pup with my spine, and the bolt rips through fur coat and skin alike. Pain flares, bright and cold, yet the bond snaps taut, flinging my silent scream toward Asher. The hunter curses, cranking another bolt, but my claws are already shifting, bones cracking inside my boots. I spring, jaws wide, and tear the crossbow from his grip while the pup yelps against my chest. The man's blood tastes of smoke and iron, and I drink his fear because hunger leaves no room for mercy. He claws for a knife, but I slam his head against a trunk and his body sags, unconscious, maybe dead. I stagger backward, breathing fire through the wound, and the pup licks the blood dripping from my fingers, trusting even when the world smells of death. I whisper for quiet, though every breath feels like broken glass inside my ribs. Somewhere downslope, boots crash closer, and I smell oil and silver, the stink of hunters who know exactly what they hunt. I press my palm to the earth, feeling Asher's distant pulse hammering, but the bond is frayed, stretched too thin by steel and pain. I cannot wait for rescue. The pack cannot know the pup still lives. I tuck the blind baby inside my coat, cinching leather against his shivering, and turn uphill, toward the ridge where moonlight carves a silver knife edge. Each step drags a snarl from my throat, yet I keep my weight on the balls of my feet, silent as falling ash. The wound bleeds through the fabric, leaving a trail any wolf could follow, but the hunters will expect weakness, not cunning. I double back along a fallen log, leaping stone to stone, erasing scent with crushed pine and snow. Wind shifts, carrying the iron stink of man, and I taste Asher on the back of my tongue, frantic, running, but not toward me. They must have taken him, must have ringed him with silver, because the bond burns like a collar of nettles. My knees buckle, yet the pup whimpers, and I rise, because mothers do not kneel when children still breathe. I follow the wind instead of the bond, climbing toward the old fire tower where humans once watched for sparks. If they captured Asher, they will parade him where every wolf can see, and the tower clearing is the only stage wide enough. Branches whip my face, leaving stripes of blood that freeze in the night, but pain keeps me awake, keeps the beast inside my skin from ripping loose. I need the human mind now, the one that plans, that remembers traps and snares and the taste of a lover's throat. Halfway up the slope, I smell diesel and hear the low thrum of a generator, proof the hunters brought toys that never tire. I crouch behind a boulder, studying the flicker of floodlights between trunks, counting heartbeats, counting rifles. 6 men circle the tower base, crossbows and assault rifles gleaming under portable lamps. On the metal grate above them, Asher kneels, wrists chained with silver, skin blistering, yet his head remains lifted, eyes glowing amber defiance. My heart cracks, but I clamp the pieces together, because love is not weakness until it paralyses. A 7th man stands beside Asher, face hidden behind night vision goggles, voice carrying the clipped accent of soldiers who sell talent to the highest bidder. He presses a pistol to Asher's temple, and the message is clear: one move from the pack and the alpha dies. I search the shadows for packmates, but only wind answers, and I realize the hunters split us, scattered us, left the alpha alone to die. The pup whimpers again, tiny claws digging into my chest, reminding me I am not alone, reminding me why surrender is impossible. I slide the hunter's knife from my belt, testing its balance, feeling the silver plating that would burn Asher but only stings me. I whisper a plan into the pup's ear, nonsense words, but the sound steadies my breath. I circle wide, belly to snow, until I crouch above the generator, its rumble masking heartbeat and breath. The guard nearest me checks his radio, cursing static, never seeing the shadow that drops behind him. I clamp a hand over his mouth and drive steel into the soft place under his jaw, angling up, killing silence. I lower him into the snow, strip his gear, and shoulder the rifle, pretending I am the thing that haunts soldier dreams. I drag the body into brush, then crawl toward the next light, next heartbeat, next death. One by one, I harvest them, leaving silence where men once stood, and the circle around Asher shrinks without the others noticing. Each kill feeds the beast inside, yet I keep the human skin because the pup needs a mother, not a monster. When only 2 guards remain, I slide behind the fuel cans, knife ready, but a siren howls, ripping the night apart. The man above Asher shouts into his radio, demanding status, receiving only static, and I see fear crawl across his jaw. He drags Asher to the railing, pressing the barrel harder, screaming warnings into darkness. I step into the light, hands raised, rifle discarded, showing myself small and wounded, bleeding, harmless. The hunter's gaze flicks to the red stains spreading across my coat, and contempt curls his lip, because prey does not threaten predators. He orders me to kneel, and I obey, letting pain buckle my legs, letting the pup squirm inside the coat. Asher's eyes widen, nostrils flaring, scenting his child alive, and for the first time the alpha's composure cracks into raw desperation. The hunter barks questions. Where are my packmates? How many wolves wait? What traps have we laid? I answer with silence, letting fear simmer, because men who believe they control the moment grow careless. I shift my knee, pressing hidden fingers against the pup's ribs, counting heartbeats, waiting. The hunter backhands me, splitting lip from teeth, and copper floods my tongue, but I time the blow, feel the instant his weight shifts. I roll, flinging the coat open, and the blind pup tumbles across the planks, mewling, helpless, drawing every eye. Asher roars, chains snapping tight, and the hunter instinctively swings the pistol toward the pup, toward easier prey. That is the moment I lunge, driving the silver knife through the sleeve of his coat, pinning arm to railing. He screams, firing wild, bullet ricocheting off metal, and Asher surges upward, shoulder slamming the man's knees. The railing breaks with a shriek, and the hunter topples, dragging Asher with him toward the frozen ground 10 meters below. I dive, catching the chain between Asher's wrists, and the jolt rips my shoulder from its socket, but I hold. Silver burns my palms, yet I grip tighter because the bond demands I never let go. The hunter dangles from the broken rail, one-handed, cursing, reaching for the pistol he dropped. Asher twists, wrapping the chain around the man's throat, and gravity finishes what hatred began. The body drops, crunching against frozen earth, and the remaining guard flees into forest, terror louder than duty. I haul Asher up, muscles trembling, until he rolls onto the planks, chest heaving, blistered but breathing. We lie there, foreheads touching, breath mingling, and the bond sings, wild and whole again. The pup crawls toward us, nose twitching, and Asher gathers him with trembling arms, pressing the blind baby to his heart. No words pass between us, only the low rumble of No words pass between us, only the low rumble of the storm fading into memory beyond the stone walls, and the pup's heart beats against Asher's bare chest like a second pulse, trying to remember its rhythm. I press my palm to the boards, splinters biting skin already raw from thorns and claws, and the mating scar on my hand burns hotter than any brand, singing Asher's name through bone. His breath feathers across my cheek, ragged but steady, and I feel every shudder as if it were my own ribs cracking back into place. The blind pup whines softly, nosing at Asher's throat, searching for the heartbeat that means safety, and Asher's arms tighten until knuckles blanch, claiming the child and the moment with equal ferocity. I taste copper where I bit through my lip during the fight, and the bond answers with a throb that drags a low sound from my chest, half growl, half sob. Asher's eyes flick open, moonlight catching the gold ring around his iris that only appears when his wolf stands closest to the surface, and the look spears straight through the fragile wall I tried to build against him. My voice cracks when I try to speak, so I let my forehead rest against his instead, sharing breath, sharing heat, sharing the certainty that we are still alive despite the world's efforts to unmake us. The pup licks the sweat from Asher's collarbone, small tongue trusting and relentless, and the simple trust cuts deeper than any blade the pack ever raised against us. Outside, wind rattles loose shingles on the ruined shelter, but inside our circle the air thickens with the musk of wolf, blood, and rain-soaked earth, binding us in primal covenant. Asher's fingers find my wrist, circling the place where my pulse hammers against skin too thin to hold all the fear and fury coursing through me, and his thumb brushes the mating scar, sending sparks down every nerve. I feel the exact moment his control frays, because the bond mirrors it back to me like a struck drum, and my own claws prick the tips of my fingers, begging for release. We stay like that, tangled on dusty planks while thunder prowls away across the ridge, and the pup finally sighs, curling into the hollow between our bodies as though we were always meant to form this shelter. My throat aches with words too heavy to lift, so I let my thumb trace the curve of Asher's cheekbone, feeling the grit of dried blood and the warmth of living skin beneath, and the gesture says everything I cannot. He turns his face into my palm, breath hot, and I feel the prick of canine teeth threatening to lengthen, a promise and a warning wrapped in the same growl. The bond spikes, demanding closeness, demanding completion, and my back arches without permission, pressing my chest to his, heart slamming in frantic stereo. Asher's hand slides up my spine, claws barely sheathed, and every ridge of callus drags fire across skin that remembers his touch even when memory tries to fail. I taste storm and wood smoke on his scent, and the combination floods my mouth with saliva, body recognizing home even while mind screams caution. His lips brush the shell of my ear, not quite a kiss, not quite restraint, and the whisper that follows is so low only the bond carries it to me, rough as gravel, tender as dawn. "You came back," he says, voice shredded by wolfsbane and grief, and the words slam into my sternum harder than any fist the pack ever raised. My answer is a sound more animal than human, torn from lungs that still burn from running miles barefoot to reach him, and I clutch fistfuls of his torn shirt, anchoring us both before the past can swallow us whole. The pup stirs between us, small paws kneading Asher's ribs in blind contentment, and the innocence feels like a blessing and a curse stitched into the same breath. I draw air deep, letting the mingled scents settle my frantic pulse, and when I speak my voice is hoarse but steady, each word scraped raw by truth. "I'll always come back," I say, and the vow settles between us like stone, immovable as the mountain beneath our broken shelter. Asher's eyes close, lashes trembling against his cheeks, and when they open again the gold has swallowed the brown entirely, wolf staring straight through me with hunger ancient as moonlight. His hand cups the back of my neck, thumb brushing the sensitive hollow beneath my hair, and I feel the prick of claws testing skin, asking permission without words. The bond answers for me, flooding my veins with heat that pools low and heavy, and my breath hitches as his mouth finds the juncture of shoulder and throat, breath scalding. Teeth graze, not quite breaking skin, and the promise hovers, electric, waiting for the single heartbeat of consent that will bind us beyond all undoing. I tilt my head, baring throat in submission that has nothing to do with weakness and everything to do with trust forged in fire and storm. Asher growls, the sound vibrating through my chest, and then his teeth sink deep, claiming flesh, claiming heart, claiming the fractured pieces of my soul I thought no one would ever want. Pain flares bright and brief, instantly eclipsed by wave after wave of warmth that floods every vein, knitting bone to bone, heart to heart, until the boundary between his pulse and mine dissolves completely. I feel his memories spill into me, nights of running under star-drunk skies, the agony of losing his first mate, the moment he scented me across the clearing and knew the bond had awakened again, and I accept them all, cradling them like precious stones. My own memories rise to meet his, childhood loneliness, the day I shifted too early and nearly tore my brother apart, the instant I realized I would kill to keep Asher breathing, and he drinks them in, snarling softly at each hurt I endured. The pup whimpers, caught in the backwash of power, and Asher's arms tighten around us both, sheltering the child even while his teeth stay locked in my flesh, anchoring us in the now. I feel the moment our heartbeats synchronize, two drums becoming one thunderous rhythm that shakes dust from rafters and calls ancient stars to witness. When he finally releases me, tongue sweeping across the wound to seal and soothe, the bond blazes so brightly I see it behind my eyelids like a comet trailing silver fire across darkness. I draw back just far enough to meet his eyes, and the tenderness there steals what little breath I have left, because I see my own wild devotion reflected back 1,000-fold. "Together," he says, voice rough with the weight of fang and promise, and the single word settles into my bones like prophecy. I answer by pulling him down until our foreheads touch again, breath shared, hearts beating as one unstoppable tide, and outside the storm dies, leaving only the hush of rain-washed pines and the soft, trusting sigh of the pup between us. The rain slows to a whisper against the stone, and I feel the pup's ribs rise and fall beneath my palm, steady now, safe between us. Asher's breath fans across my neck, warm and grounding, and the bond pulses once, sharp, deliberate like a promise etched in fire. I tilt my head, bearing the curve of my shoulder without hesitation, and the moment stretches, thick with the scent of pine and wet earth. His growl rumbles low, not warning but worship, and I feel the vibration travel through his chest into mine. Then his teeth sink in slow, deliberate, and the world tilts, the pain blooming into something vast and radiant. I gasp, fingers digging into the back of his neck, holding him there, anchoring us both. The bond snaps taut, golden and unbreakable, and I feel his heartbeat slam into rhythm with mine, two drums becoming one. Heat floods every nerve, and I taste copper and rain and something wilder us, entwined, irrevocable. The pup stirs, letting out a soft whine, and I stroke his ear with trembling fingers, whispering wordless comfort. Asher's fangs retract, but he doesn't pull away. Instead, he presses his mouth to the mark, tongue tracing the wound like apology and claim in one. I shiver not from cold, and he gathers me closer, his